My story takes place in 1972. Dreamer will be 12 this year. He is the oldest of the Hole in the Ground gang. He had been kept back because his birthday fell after the summer holidays. It was a Monday morning, the last week before Easter holidays. Dreamer had hatched a mini adventure. On Friday, the gang would escape from school. Needless to say, Dreamer had watched the Colditz story over the weekend on the television and thought it would be exciting to do it in real life. Not that Dreamer didn't like school, quite the reverse. He loved being at school with his friends. For Dreamer, it was just the thrill of making history come to life in his own way. 4 of the gang members were in Mr. Sinclair's class. He was deputy head, so often left his class unattended with set work to do. The year before, all 5 members were in Mrs. Perkins' class, but she was very fussy who she had in her class. If you were an underachiever or a troublemaker, you were moved. As the gang did a lot of mucking about, 4 of them were shifted. The only one who got to stay was Sweetman, the creme de la creme of the gang. Looking back, Mrs. Perkins reminds me of Miss Jean Brodie. Mr. Sinclair was a very tall man, quite imposing, and could be strict at times. The other thing that was problematic was you never knew when he would reappear in class. And God help you if you were caught misbehaving, as the Hole in the Ground gang found out to their cost on more than one occasion. One time, somebody threw a pencil case out of the classroom window, and Dreamer volunteered to hang out the window and retrieve it, while BB, Nipper and Sparks hung onto his legs. The boys were so busy giggling, they let Dreamer slip from their grasp. He landed in a bush that was growing in the border outside the window. The boys were so busy laughing, they had not seen their teacher enter the room. But Dreamer, who was now standing at the window waiting for the others to help him back in, had ducked down. But it was too late. He did not know that Mr. Sinclair had watched the whole of the proceedings from the headmaster's office. Now the classroom was silent as the 4 boys were lined up. "Okay, boys, hands on your heads." The boys knew what was coming when the teacher moved towards the blackboard and picked up the giant blackboard ruler. Then lined the boys up in height size and stood them close together. Then, thwack! The ruler came down on their knuckles, and of course, because their hands were on their heads, there was no give. Still, at least it was the flat side of the ruler, and he only did it once. The boys thought this was fair, and believe it or not, they had a lot of respect for their teacher. "Now sit down, boys, and get on with your work." And that was the end of it, all forgotten. The Hole in the Ground gang were used to punishment and always took it with good grace. They were 4th-year students, and at our school we always went in last, and more often or not, as you lined up for dinner along the corridor of the older years classroom, you would pass the Hole in the Ground gang facing the wall. Everyone would say, "What have you done now?" Usually for minor things like making skateboards out of desk lids and roller skates. And as the dinner ladies put it, being a bit reckless, or being somewhere where they shouldn't have been. Just harmless mischief. But life was good. Always plenty to do in their little country town. I remember one time a Chris company was running an offer. If you collected a certain amount of vouchers off the packets, you could send away for badges with endangered animals on it, in conjunction with the WWL World Fund. Dreamer was animal mad. So as our teacher was out of the classroom, he decided to go and check the bins in the playground. No one in the other classrooms gave him a second glance as he rummaged through the bins looking for old crisp packets. I think the other teachers just used to look and say, "That's one of Sinclair's lot," and took no notice. Things were pretty laid back, as long as we didn't cross the line. Dreamer's new escapade would have to wait until playtime, as Mr. Sinclair was in the classroom. Dreamer could not discuss his plan when a teacher was about, and plus Sweetman was not in their class. A gang meeting was called for the first playtime. The morning seemed to drag by. Then the bell went and the boys rushed out into the playground. They didn't have long, so they scuttled off to a shed where old desks were stored. Right, I have 2 announcements to make. First, I have an adventure in mind. I was watching telly over the weekend and saw this great film with John Mills and Eric Portman in. "Oh, don't tell us it was a war film," laughed Sweetman. "Oh, are you talking about the Colditz story? I watched that. Great film," said Nipper. "Are you thinking about digging tunnels all over the school field, Dreamer?" asked Sparks with a worried look on his face. "No, of course not, but thought it might be exciting to see if we can escape from school without getting caught. I thought we could do a mini escape on Thursday, about 15 minutes before home time. Then Friday, the great escape after lunch break." "What do you lot think?" asked Dreamer. The boys stood there staring in disbelief at Dreamer's plan.